Hello again. In this unit, we're going to be discussing derivations. Derivations are it's reasoning that we do either in English with our formal language that we use to show that an argument is valid. So last unit we got introduced to symbolizations. This unit we're going to get introduced to derivations. And in this video, I'm going to talk about derivations in English, and in the subsequent videos, I'll talk about derivations in the formal language. So, one piece of terminology before we get into derivations, and that's the word argument. And an argument in logic, it doesn't mean a fist fight or a dispute, it means something else, which we'll see. So if you remember the second airport scenario, you overhear a couple and you overhear the woman say to the man, "If you don't confess, I'm leaving you," and you observe them and he doesn't appear to confess. And so you get those two pieces of evidence and you think they're probably true, and then you conclude, aha, she will leave him. And whether or not the premises are true, you can be confident that if the premises are true, the conclusion is true. In fact, you can be certain that if the premises are true, so is the conclusion. There's no situation in which the premises are true, yet the conclusion is false. No situation at all. So it's a valid argument. So it's a valid piece of reasoning to go from the premises to the conclusion. And we'll call 1 to 3 an argument. So what's an argument? It's just, when we say argument, all we mean is some premises and a conclusion. Are they true? Don't know. Does anyone believe them? Don't know. Is there a dispute about them? Don't know. We're not talking about that. When we call it an argument, when we say argument, we mean the piece, the sentences, the collection of sentences that are the premise, and then the sentence that's the conclusion. And that's what we're talking about when we say argument. And one symbol, those 3 dots, they mean so, or therefore. They mark the argument's conclusion. Okay, so an argument, some premises, and a conclusion. So consider this argument here. If he doesn't confess, she will leave him. He doesn't confess, she will be better off if she leaves him, so she will be better off. Do you believe premise 3 in the airport scenario? I don't know. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. But let's suppose you did, or let's not worry about that. In any case, we can be confident that this is indeed a valid argument, that if all of the premises are true in any situation whatsoever, the conclusion is true in that situation as well. Well, but what if we weren't quite sure that the argument was valid? Well, then we might try to reason it out and convince ourselves that the argument was valid, or maybe discover that, in fact, it's invalid. So how would we do that? Well, so first we'd assume that all 3 premises are true, and then we'd consider, well, is the conclusion also true? That's what we try to do. See, can we discover whether or not the conclusion is also true, given the truth of the premises? Well, we know because of premises 1 and 2 that she'll leave him. We can be confident of that. That's a valid step, to go from 1 and 2 to she will leave him, because premise 2 says he doesn't confess, and premise 3 says, so premise 1 says, if he doesn't confess, she will leave him. So if premise 1 and 2 are true, then so is this intermediate claim, she will leave him. But now if we combine that claim, she will leave him, with premise 3, we can conclude she will be better off, because she will leave him is the antecedent of the third premise, and the consequent of the third premise is she will be better off. So, indeed, yes, if all 3 premises are true, so is the conclusion, and so the argument is valid. Is the conclusion true? Don't know. Are the premises true? Maybe not. But if the premises are true, then no matter what, so is the conclusion. And we can see that because of this little piece of reasoning we just went through. Right, what happens is we start with premises 1 and 2, and then we introduce a new claim, she will leave him. And then we take that new claim, and we combine it with the third premise to get the claim that she will be better off. So we have, effectively, if you think of the sort of the way the argument goes, the way the reasoning goes, we look at the first 2 premises, they give us a new claim, and then we combine that with the third premise, and that gives us the conclusion. And that new claim, she will leave him, that's our intermediate claim. And so we move in steps. We don't go jump straight from the premises to the conclusion. We start with an intermediate claim, and then that we get from 2 premises, and then combine that intermediate claim with another premise to get to the conclusion. And that establishes that the argument is indeed valid. So we have arguments and derivations. The arguments are just the premises and the conclusion. The derivation is the way in which we establish that the argument is valid. It's the reasoning that we use to establish that the argument is valid. So what's a derivation? Well, it's a way of showing that an argument is valid, and it's taking small, obviously valid steps to get from the premises of the whole argument to the conclusion of the whole argument. So that's what we'll be doing with the sentences of our formal language, and I'll be talking about how to do that in the rest of the videos in this unit.